The morning sun rose over the field, painting the sky in soft shade of peach. Wine rubbed the sleep from her eyes and noticed something strange. The young wasn't in his room, usual place outside the house, farming with the firewood. Her fetch water, the air felt oddly empty without him. Her father coughing weakly from the corner of the room distracted her. She quickly set the bowl of porridge before him, worry pressing into her chest. His cough had been growing worse these past day, and though she tried to remain strong, the sight of his pale shoulder made her heart achy. Medicine from the town doctor cost more than she could dream of affording. That day, Wine, burning herself with a cross but a nagging question, kept interrupting her. Where had they gone? By late afternoon, she finally saw him returning from the direction of the village. His clothes were dusty, his hair damp with the sweat, and his palm red as through the rubbed rock. He tried to walk quietly into the house, but Wine catch him at the doorway. Where were you? She asked, tilting her head suspiciously. He hesitated, the corner of his mouth twisting. Just walking. Walking, she folded her arms with hand like that. She pointed at the faint visitor along his mouth. Then glided down, catch off guard. Before he could answer, Wine father called for her. She let the matters go, but unease glared at her. That evening when she went to fill the water jug near the market, she overheard two women gossiping. Did you see that tall stranger today? Strong fellow, through he looked out and placed. Yes, he had been carrying lots of merchants in morning. Bravely expert and pay strange agents. Why would a man like him work so hard for few coins? One froze her grip tightened at the jug, realizing shaking. Her eyes stung at the hurry home. When she arrived, her father was sitting up holding a small pouch of herb. He looked surprised. That young man, he said softly, he gave me this, said it would help with the cough, paid for it with his own money. Wine breathed each. She turned to a small figure at the doorway, then leaning against the frame, trying to appear casually through exhaustion was written all over him. I only want to help, he said simply, his voice quiet. Wine lowered her gaze, unable to stop the tear that stayed free. She turned away, quickly biting her lips, muffled the sound of her sob. All her life kindness and come to her small, rare drop, but never like this, never such sincerity. Then noticed his chest tightening at the side. He wanted to reach out to brush her tear away, but something held him back. Instantly, he only whispered, "Don't cry, Wine. I can't stand it when you do." That night, as she lay in bed, Wine pressed her face into her pillow and her heart aching in the way she didn't understand. Why did his kindness move her so deeply? Why did he? Her chest tightened every time his gaze leaning on her, and why he didn't even know his own name. Did he feel like someone her heart already knew? The storm came suddenly. Heavy rain lashed against his wooden shutter, and the wind howled through the crack in the house. Wine moved about the kitchen, her body wary at the day cross, her clothes damp from fetching firewood earlier. She told herself she was fine, but by evening a chill stepped in her bones and her head throbbed with heat. When they entered, carrying a stack of half-dry logs, he found her slumped against the table, her face pale, long tremor, his arms instantly. When he crossed the room into strike, kneeling beside her, his hand pressed to her forehead, and his heart nudged. It was warm, burning. "You are sick," he muttered, panic slipping into his usual steady voice. Without hesitation, he lifted her into his arms, engroaning the rain battering against the roof. She was so light, so fragile his hold, and for her the first time since he had won in her world, he felt a fear he couldn't mean. He laid her on the thin, bleeding, rushing to French water. The storm roared outside, but inside his focus narrowed only her. He sewed a cloth, warm it out trembling hand, and pressed it gently to her forehead. "Don't worry," he whispered, through his own heart was sounding like, "I will take care of you." Hour passed, the rain continued to pour, but Taeyong never left her side. He changed the clothes again and again, wiped the sweat off her temple, and coached her to drink small sip of water. Each time she stayed and whimpering his name faintly. Something is and tightening painfully. At one point, her hand slipped weakly off the blanket without thinking. He catch it and blinked her finger. Her skin was hot and anxiety, but he held on as though his grip alone could anchor her. "Don't leave me," the word escaped his lips before he even realized it. A raw confession whispered into the dim light. His voice cracked as he leaned closer. "I don't know why, but I can't live without you." Her lashes fluttered faintly at the sound of through. She was too deep in the fever to understand him. Said froze. The weight of his own word pressing down on him. He didn't know who he did had been, what life he had forgotten, but the moment he knew absurd losing her would destroy him. So he stayed all night long through the storm. He sat by her side, her hand clasped tightly in his silent word lingering in the air, that no matter who he was, no matter where he came from, he would protect her with everything he had. When the dawn finally broke, the rain poured into the soft, slithering eyes, fair red and lack of sleep, but when one still fainted, her fever breaking so lightly, serenity relief washed through him like sunset breaking through dark cloud. And as she whispered his name in present hoarse voice, he realized she had already become the one, only whom he could remember. The night was cool, the storm long gone, the air smelled depth of earth and sky stretching wind above them, beating with the countless star. Wine finally recovered from her fever, sat on the grass outside the small house, shell wrapped around her shoulder. Her body was still weak, but her heart felt suddenly restless. Tim sat beside her, his profile calm against the starlight. He had bravely left her side in the past few days. She couldn't forget the faint word she thought she heard when her fever racked. "Don't leave me, I can't live without you." Her eyes wandered to him quietly, studying the soft in his expression, the way his hand rested uncertainly his knee. After a long silence, he spoke, his voice low but steady. "I don't know who I was before my past. It's like a locked door I can't open." But he turned to her, his gaze unmistakable. "If I have you, maybe that's enough." Wine breath catch simply of his word carry a weight she couldn't resist. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Rapidly thumb of her heart before she could gather the courage. He leaned closer hesitantly, as she afraid she might pull away.